O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Shanti. Now, it's my pleasant duty to chair this very important session, and it's my pleasure to introduce my good friends, our long-standing theosophists. First is Dr. Ravindran, a gentleman and a brother. He is a MD in medicine, and of course all in first rank, first only. And he was in Kerala Medical Service for a very long time. And he was a principal of a medical college, principal and dean and all that of a medical college. And he did yeoman service to the poor. And whenever you have got problems, even slight problems, you can approach it. Day or night, 24/7, available in Bhojan Sala or New Quadrant. And he's a very fine brother. And he was president of the Kerala Theosophical Federation, secretary, etc. for a long time. He'll be speaking to you. I think he's the first speaker. Am I right? Yes. Can you have the... Please come, sir.
Very good morning, brothers and sisters. The topic given to me is how to tread the path to perfection. So it is a question. There is no definite answers has been given. Now, if we look for the answers, whether there is anything new which we have to offer, that is one question. Because if you trace the history of Theosophical Society, before 1875 and after, one senior brother, Dr. J.D. Buck has written that way, that before 1875, there was the same thing, especially there's a concern with the old literature. It has been mentioned by H.P. Blavatsky in her Key to Theosophy, that she mentioned that there was the Theosophical Transactions of the Philadelphia Society. She mentions in the Key to Theosophy. But before that, the 4 large volumes of the Behrman's work, 9 volumes of William Law, and then Johann Gitche's Theosophica Practica, and a long series of works were there which had that label Theosophical. But the essence of all these things were that it was application of the fundamental principles of life to the Christ and the Bible. And it is mentioned like this, that is with direct application to regeneration, illumination, and final perfection of man as a child of God, and finally a brother and a co-worker with Christ. So, at that time, this word was known, it is one with the Christianity. But what happened was that, yes, the routine thing which happens, these were instructions to the so-called orthodox attitudes. And the Orthodox never accepted something new. They doesn't want any change because of their authority, their advantage. So what happened was that finally these books and these instructions practically disappeared. That is what happens. And then after 1875, the whole thing reappeared not in the form of the so-called Western occultism, but as Eastern. That is what SPB has said. She has practically gone to the Hindu, Buddhist, and the other Eastern philosophy and reintroduced the same thing in another way, actually mentioning the previous Western occultism also. So practically, SPB herself has mentioned there is nothing new in the path because it is the same thing. It is the path with the razor's edge. Unless you are qualified, you are not able to go through the path. Now, at every time the effort of human mind to apprehend and utilize the deeper problems of human life, to understand the spirit in relation to matter and the things of sense and time is a worldwide and world old. This idea was there in man, and every time this has practically coming out with every culture and every community. And the riddle of swings of life can be solved only by self-knowledge. And back of this are always the aim, ideals, and purposes and conscious achievement that alone makes life worth living to every individual. So it is life alone that can exemplify the doctrine. And S.P. Blavatsky, in her summary, the stairs a clean life. That is the first thing. And the second is the open mind. That is the practically motto of science. Open mind, divested of all prejudice, free from both credulity and incredulity, and in search of human service, in search of truth for human service, alone can give us the point of view that discerns that which is. That is the very genius of natural science. I am quoting the J.D. Buck. The natural science, as it was known at that time for physics and other thing. So, first demonstration, second realization, and third service. These three are the method of science. I think it is the same thing that we are saying in another way: study, meditation, and service. So, the path to perfection, one is you have to study at least you should have the essential background knowledge of what things are. Without that, you cannot proceed. For example, nobody can drive a vehicle without the essential background knowledge of the whole thing. And that knowledge alone is not enough. You should have the real practical skill. Otherwise, you will be a theoretical driver only. So you should have a skill to drive. That is the first part of thing. And then you have to practice it. That is your meditation. That's the actual practice and things. And then the whole thing has to be useful to the community. That is, when you are moving from one place to another, you are also able to move or take somebody with you also. So you are practically acting as somebody who can help others. So all the three are included in the real work of the treading the path. Now, as said, the first thing is the real background knowledge, and it is the knowledge of the subjectivity of man. Man is not only the objective entity but also a highly subjective entity, and this has to be studied. And the new name for this science is the so-called phenomenology. So, to study the subjectivity of man, and there are so many aspects of that. Every instruction theoretically can be studied and practically can be applied, and if it is something is useful, it can be brought to actual practice. Now, the second part is the so-called meditation. The word is never defined in the modern science because so many practices are labeled as meditation. And I think there's now we can make a big list of things. There's a meditation with the movements, meditation with the walking, observing senses, meditation with sound, singing, sutras or mantras, repeating syllables, then breathing, watching your breathing, and cultivating compassion, visualization. You scan your body, concentrating an object, lying meditation, observing your thoughts, emotions, sitting in silence, contemplating, and contradicting some paradoxes which are given. All these comes under the label of meditation. But now the scientific approach to that, it is something called the psychoneurology. They have finally reduced the whole thing into three aspects. One is called the, you are familiar with the thing, an enhanced affective state. Enhanced affective state means it is something concerned with the emotional aspect. A meditative state in which the phenomenal content is primarily an intensified and heightened emotion or feeling. It is typically described by words such as intense bliss, peace, love, compassion, joy, and happiness. That is this label. The second part is called the enhanced cognitive state. It is a state in which there is a heightened cognition, that is understanding, exemplified by concentration, maintaining one focus of attention on a single object over a considerable period, and mindfulness and insight. That is the second part. Now, the neurologists, they have now come to the conclusion that there is something called the null state, where it is not the enhanced affective state nor a cognitive state, but the absence of everything. It is described something like that. Various esoteric terms to a single lucid delineation. However, for the purpose of this topology, notion of a null state is inclusive of all aforementioned and the best captured by some quotings. One quoting is like that. That is, no object in the mind, no content, not meditating upon something, but dropping everything. Not even a ripple arises in the lake of your consciousness, emerging into a state of nothingness, accompanied by loss of sense of self and duality. See, this is the third type. So, but usual meditation we do, including the Patanjali, it's a mixture of many of these things. Because when we say the Vidarka Vijara, that means it is cognitive. Ananda Asmita, it comes to the other thing. But finally we have to understand that there is a meditator. That meditator means there is somebody who is meditating, and we cannot avoid this thing, because science has now accepted that meditation is an embodied existence. It is a phenomenon of embodied existence, because nobody says that Parabrahman is meditating. Just below, somebody is having a body, even the most cosmic Vishnu, Brahma, they meditate. Even Shiva meditates. It means that an embodied entity has got control over his field, his body, his emotion, his mind. Now, only in man, the so-called reflective consciousness, or otherwise called self-consciousness, is so much increased. So, he has got a unique nature of knowing the whole cosmos, and he is considered as a microcosm. So, naturally what happens was that when one goes into this particular aspect of meditation, will come into contact with so lot of things, and practically which helps us to resolve our issues one by one. And they cannot say a single method. Every method has got its own advantage and disadvantage, and it has now known with the studies that whatever we do, whether it is sensory inputs of anything, our one part of the brain is active at that part, and it can be recorded, EEG, the EMG, the other MRI, and so lot of things can be recorded simultaneously, and what happens in the brain can be known, and now they are interpreting that way. And now another important thing is that now we consider that the left brain controls the right controls the left. It is true, but the two brains are entirely different. And now it has been proved that when the left nostril is dilated, that means the so-called Ida, it is the right hemisphere which is more active. And autonomic system has got only unilateral control, not bilateral. So, so many things has come into that area, and by breathing is the most important thing, which is the tool for controlling the brain activity, and it has been proved. And by controlling the left and right brains and the autonomic nervous system, the central part of human body is the so-called hypothalamus, which is concerned with all the cycles, day and night cycle, our eating habits, our drinking, and our sleeping, circadian, all the rhythms in the body, the neurological and endocrinological aspect, all these are integrated the so-called hypothalamic level, and we can to some extent control the hypothalamic activity by using the breathing as the tool. It has been proved, and for want of time, that's I will not be able to go into details, but I can give you one more hint. When the left nostril is active, then the right brain is working more. When the left nostril can be active when you lie on the right side, right lateral side, when you give pressure over this side, the opposite nostril can be dilated. That is one important thing. So, if you are lying on left side, your right brain is active. Right brain is concerned with the emotional activity, visuospatial orientation, visualizations, and the control of all emotions, and it is a state in which energy is conserved. So, it is called Ida in our yogic literature. The right hemisphere is the more intellectual and vibrant social and other activity. It is more active, it is more linguistically and socially oriented, and when that is active, practically practically takes away all the energy. So it is called Pingala. It is the energy utilizing activity. So these things are now known, and sometimes you can voluntarily manipulate these things also. It has been said, the so-called yoga dhanna. When you are laying, they say you can manipulate, but when you are sitting, if you want to manipulate, you can press the axilla with the yoga dhanna. So if you press the right axilla, your left nostril is active. And beyond doubt, it has been proved now scientifically by all experimental proofs and in the last 30 years. But the problem is that it has not been gone into a social development. Even doctors, they don't know what is happening with the so-called yogic thing. They just sometimes dismiss that the whole thing is nonsense. It is not. So there is a lot to study, and you have to practice yourself, and finally whatever you find, it can be effectively utilized for the service of others, and that is the theosophical motto. Thank you very much.